All right, everybody, welcome today to this another exciting edition of the Vamp Live and another boring day of trading Bitcoin and crypto. So we have been in this continual sideways pattern here for now going on forever. I think we're like 3 days shy of forever. In fact, if we wait 1 or 2 more days, I think I might crawl back into my coffin and have someone knock on it and wake me up in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks when BTC finally decides to make a substantial move here. So I'm up here. I've got my chart posted from last night. These are some of the calls and some of the signals I saw last night. Nothing has changed. I never changed this. If you go back and you watch my video, we had this golden cross right here. I said, hey, this is very weak. Here's what I put on here. Nothing has changed on this chart. At this time, we had made the golden cross. We had kind of stagnated a little bit, popped up. I said, you guys really got to watch out here because I don't like this. This is very bearish, and sure enough, if you pulled a short onto this, you did pretty well. If you did a little scalp here, a little scalp action, if you opened it up, and you're doing pretty good. Now, as you see how, if you take a look at the 4 hour where we had this little scalp action, you could have done a little bitty baby scalp on this golden cross. This at the time was below the price, so this did pop up. It then came down, and we were tracking this. So here you go. See, we were actually tracking this down until it did close. And then it just gave way. It just gave completely. Just so little strength right now in Bitcoin going on. So little volume. I want to actually pull up a couple of my charts and show you guys some of my historic discoveries. We had one of the members come on our Discord chat, 7ohm. And he was asking about some of our private trading groups, and he said, what is the private Vamp VIP room? I told him that's where a society of members meets, and we decide which member we're going to eat the following day. I said, I'm super excited because we were just talking about you. Why don't you come on over later? I'm just kidding. It was 7ohm. He said somebody answered his question. I said, I bet my answer was much better. So here we are in our sideways action. I called this bearish little drop off last night. It was, I don't want to say it was an easy call. It was a hard call because of this golden cross. But now once again, we are about to get a death cross. So this 7MA is and will roll over here at any time. So this is going to roll over on the 30. This will cause a little downward action. If you look at my support lines here, so you can see this white line that goes across the chart is one of my historical supports and resistances. You can see there is a lot of support here. We came down into this zone right here, just tippy tapped it and then bounced up. Same thing, bounced up twice. So there is a lot of substantial support in this area. And we are looking for, this is funny because there was a lot of, I pointed out, I said, look, we are sitting on 2 support lines. So we're sitting on 2 support zones right here. And we had the golden cross. This was the cause for a little bump up. And then there's just so much weakness in BTC. I mean, you're talking about a lot of confluence on the support areas right here, both these support lines, and a golden cross on top of it. And this is all we could get out of it. Not looking good. Not looking good. So let's go up. I want to pull up a couple of charts that I did just recently. Ming is on. And let's go back here. I want to just kind of... So I was really looking at a comparison of this is an older chart, of course. So I was looking at the comparison between the 7MA crossover with the 30MA. Excuse me. And the 10MA and the 20MA, and I actually like it. I like the. Let me pull it up here. I do have a comparison of both of them. So here you go. So it's kind of hard to zoom in here. So if you look right down here, you can see. Oh, wait, and let me find it. There we go. It's really. Let me pull this up on my chart. So it's hard to see down here, but you can see the light blue line and the red line are the 10 and the 20. So I have the 20 as the red and the 10 as the blue, and you can see that they also crossed over, and I'll zoom into this right here. Let me find a zoomed in chart. I know I zoomed into this. Where did I zoom in? Hello, zoom in. All right, come on. Where did I zoom into this damn thing? Oh, maybe I didn't zoom in. Not so much. Nope, not liking it. All right, so I didn't. So I will go pull this up on a chart. And let's go, let's dig into that. All right, I tried to make that easy, but of course it did not want to be easy. So we're going to jump out here. We're going to jump onto the daily. All right, we're going to go down here. We're going to pull up the, we're going to pull up a DMA. Get in here, edit it. I want the red, so I want this to be red. I want this to be baby blue. And we're only going to use the 10 and the 20. We're going to close everything else out. All right. All right, we're going to black this out. All right. So here you go. So you can see that here is the 10 and the 20 right here. You can see how it called the how this called the death cross. Also, this did call it a little earlier. I'm sorry, the golden cross. This did call the golden cross a little bit earlier than the 30 and the 7 did. I like that. I like that a lot. As you go back historically, it does do a pretty good job of calling it. So it is called it again right here. So it called it straight. Now, my issue with this particular calling it here a second time is I feel if you got in on the 7MA and the 30MA cross right here, now this did call this a little earlier. It called it just a couple hours earlier here on the, if you looked up here, this called it a little bit earlier on the 10 and the 20. So the 7 and the 30, it did call it a little bit later. Now, if you would have gone in on the 7 and the 10 and the 20, you possibly would have been way down here on your short trade. So this would have been a lot scarier right here on the 1020. And where then if a few hours later on this daily candle, it would have then called it, you would have been higher up and you would have been in a much better position to trade this down. You would have been higher up in your short. Now here's something I do prefer that the 30 over, because here if you would have continually been moving your stop losses down, the 30 would have told you to not get out of your trade until here. Right, where you would have had a mixed signal, you would have come up here and this possibly would have, I don't know if this would have broken my stop loss. My stop loss would have been up here at 79, 70, call it 8,000. I would have been up here at 8,000. So when we hit this bottom, my trailing stop loss would have been at 8K. This would have come up. It would have given me another signal to short on the 1020. But the 30, I would have been confident in the 30. I would have just been sitting in this trade all the way down, just moving it. I would have felt a lot more safe following the 30, and I would have been a little panicky here following the. I would have probably jumped out of the trade right in here. Okay, I would have been a little more panicky jumping in and out of the trade right here on the 10 and the 20. Now, here's something I really want to zoom in and everybody take a look at. So I did some historical comparisons between the, here we go, between July 2017, and we went over this in the video the other day. This is very, very, very important, right? July is bearish. July is very, very bearish historically. I had I got on Twitter and I posted something about this on Twitter, and I had someone say, no, this is looking more like April, And I said, well, this is looking more like July of 2017. And this is where I'm seeing. Now let's take a look at how the crosses did back here. Our 10, so our 7 and our 30. So here would have been your 7 and your, I'm sorry, your 7 and your 10 and your 20 would have been right here. This would have called this death cross, but it would have been a very dangerous call, right? This would have been a very suspect call right here, okay? Because it would have bounced down and bounced right back up, so this would have been not a good trade. Now here you go. Here's the 7 and the 30. The 7 would have called this. If you would have called this right here, you would have put your stop loss at least to here, if not up here. And you would have ridden this, you would have had a good call. They would have called this very well. The 10 and the 20 then did not really activate. So this would have been a very bad trade for the 10 and the 20. The 10 and the 20 would have probably got stomped out, would have gotten stomped out here. If you would have made your trade here, you might have gone to here. You would have definitely, your stop loss would have been here. It would have got snapped. You would not have got back into this trade based on the 10 and the 20 MA. So yes, excellent question. So actually, Dave, that is a very good question, and you're correct. This is also an indicator of where we are today, because in July we have very, very bad volume. I mean, our volume is substantially low in July. So you can see right here, we did have this dip. Right now, here's the difference that I see in 2017. In 2017, I see we have market forces at action in the news, right? So here you have Bitcoin going from, oh my God, $1,000 to 3K. I mean, this is where I feel that Bitcoin started to get the publicity. It started to become a little more mainstream. I bet if you go back and you pull your charts back in, you can do the Google trend thing, where it shows you how many times people Googled BTC or Bitcoin or whatever that, or cryptocurrency. I bet you really see this start to take off right about this area right here. I see you start to ramp up on Bitcoin Googlings, and it just keeps going to the moon right there. And I look at this area a little bit differently, because I see this support, a lot of this support right here is coming from the media. It's coming from people finally getting a Bitcoin coming out of the dark crevices into the light, going mainstream, and there was a lot more market confidence here. It's even with this market confidence, the July still tanked. So we still tanked in July, okay? So July is very, very bearish, all right? And so we're going to pull this back and see if we can confirm this again. So we're going to pull this back, and once again, here we go. We've got July. This is July 2016, and bearish. Now, the difference I see in the marketplace in July 2016, and you see the giant trough of volume here once again. See the trough of volume that occurs in July. This massive sideways movement that we get, this lateral movement all through July, followed up by a really massive bearish day in August, in the beginning of August, right? This would have been an extremely challenging environment to trade, okay? If you were just going off your MAs, this would have been just a nightmare to trade. You have crossed, you have golden cross, death cross, golden cross, death cross, golden cross, death cross, and you're getting whacked out by your stop losses here. This is a very, very challenging time to trade. Now, once again, if you zoom in, July is extremely bearish. So we see another trend here in July where it shows a bearish trend. Now, this was a pretty substantial bearish trend, but it also created a nice V bottom for us, in which we did pull out of, and there was substantial gains. This is great. This is what we're looking for. let's find this bottom, let's find this V, and then break out to, some new highs. That's what I'm really hoping to see here, right? We saw the golden cross. We know the golden crosses have been historically great trades. That is not true in July. Historically, trading golden crosses and death crosses in July is much more challenging. And you see here it continued off into August until it finally got really easy to trade here, and it got much easier to trade here in October, and then October it kind of swung up. So we had one of the members say, hey, what happens? I asked the question, what happens every single July that I'm missing? And one of the members said, hey, maybe, it's vacation time, it's summer, people don't have time to trade, they're on the holidays, all the festivals are going on. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the summertime, and maybe this is just what this is. It's just a summer lag. People want to be outside. They want to go camping and boating and hiking and travel. And maybe what we see in July is just a culmination of real world activity affecting the marketplace. And that's completely viable. Completely viable. All right. And so that's the, and volume, once again, volume's low. Volume indicators here troughed again. So you see this trough just like it did previously. And then let's go up and see where in the heck we are. And here we are. So, let's back out a little bit here. So I still think 4,800 to 4,200 is going to be our next bottom. I still feel that this is where we are headed. To get out of this right now, we need a news event to get out of this. We need some really good, some really drastic news. Now, here we go again. Here's our trough. So we are creating this trough here. Let's watch for this trough. I mean, we got a long way to go in July to get over here to August, right? We got a long way to go, but, let's look for this trough action. And it's more of a substantial trough. So I want to see, here you're kind of up and down, and this is not really, this is kind of a bull, but I want to see a real trough occur to see a recurrence of the pattern in July. All right, and yes, Northern Hemisphere summer vacations, right? If you live in the South, you are not looking to go someplace hot, right? If you live on the equator or a little south of the equator, and then it is the opposite, of course, when you get south of the equator, it is winter time. All right, so let's take a look at, I wanted to go out and I wanted to take a look at the weekly candle, okay? So here is something everybody should really keep track of. This is our 30-day, excuse me one second, I'm going to bring up my 50. Here is our 30-day moving average on the weekly charts. As you can see, this is rolling over. This weekly average, this 30-day weekly average is still connected to these highs that are back here. As we finish off this next, as we move forward another week, it's going to peel off another one of these candles, which should then drop it a little bit lower. The following week, it will be a substantial, over the next couple days, weeks, over the next coming weeks, this 30 is going to drastically drop. It is going to dip extremely hard here. And then what's going to happen is it's going to cut into this 50-day. It will make a very, very, very evil death cross if the bulls cannot get back up to this $8,000 mark. And if you remember correctly, this is a very important and critical place for us right now in crypto. If you look at the daily, we pull up so remember 8,000, right? 8,000 right in here. If we pull up our daily and we bring up our 128, right? 8,000. So you have a very, very heavy resistance point at 8,000. And I see calls for this to moon up to 8,500. I've even seen calls just recently, people saying this is going to go to 30K. No, just no. This is your top right here. Your top is 8K. If this moons up, this would be great. Listen, if this golden cross actually activates and the rest of the previous Julys are completely nonsensical and do not hold a value to being a historical indicator, then we are going down, right? This has to defy multiple July trends. This has to defy the volume. This has to defy a lot of things. And my other bubble charts are all saying down. This golden cross is the only thing telling me to go up right now. Of all the indicators I have, this golden cross is the only thing telling me to go up. Okay, so we're gonna run back over to the weekly here. So I want to just point out on the weekly chart. Let me get this back in here for everybody. All right, we do have declining volume on the weekly. So as our volume has slowly stair-stepped down and down and down, and look, we are almost done with this week. Look at this. This will be the lowest volume candle since way back here in April of 2017. So we've got 2 days left. Yeah, it's got 2 days left. It needs to top this. The volume really needs to top over this to show us that the bulls have got the gumption to make this happen. Because looking at this descending stair step, how do you expect us to get to 8K when we can't even beat the previous volume from the last week, right? Now, can we baby step this up? Yeah, but look at the volume that happened last time. Look at this. This is respectable volume here. These last weeks, this was respectable volume that got us up to this high, the 10K. We tapped the 30. The 30 worked as a perfect historical, as a perfect resistance point to the T right there. Worked there. It worked all the way through here. Tap that, tap that, tap that, tap that. Perfect. Now, as this rolls over, this is going to be very dangerous. Now, I'm looking at this candle. We have 2 days to close this candle out, right? So we have 2 days in order to close this candle out right here. And we are looking like we're in a pretty precarious place. Okay? If this does drop back down, if this does drop back down to 6,400 range, which is possible, and close out over the weekend as a massive shooting star, this would be a very good trade setup for all of us, right? And that's all we're looking for. We're looking for positive, easy layup trade setups, right? And this here, look, this was on the weekly. This weekly called this turnaround. There is a spinning top. You came down, we put up a nice spinning top candle. This was a great trade to turn around here. And if anybody was on YouTube last night, I did a really quick show on YouTube last night. One of our members, KK, he called this bottom from my call. He had I believe a 4 BTC long trade layered down here at cross, and he ran this puppy up 1,000 points almost and hopped out, and he is up. I think he's up like 15 BTC this week. Just on this week alone, he made 13 BTC. He made 13 BTC right here on a leveraged trade on a 4 or 5 BTC trade from the bottom. So, yes. So this is kind of what we're looking for here. Listen, we've got a couple days to go, people. No need. Listen, no FOMO. No FOMO here, right? We do have this golden cross on the daily chart. This golden cross, just where is the damn volume? Right? Now, if we fall out from this and we fall down, we should find support right here. So I'm looking for some support right here. We have, here you go. Top, 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 and I bet I have this. This should be on my chart here. and it is not. Let's layer this on my chart. So here would be my support level right here. Sorry, my charts are super messy. Okay, so here you go. You're gonna, the two bottom of these candles, the two tops of these closed bodies of these candles, you know, you've got your MAs down here. You do have your 10 and your 20 down here. So if this did fall out, I would be looking for a 6,400 range if this fell out right here to pop on. Now, below that, the next level below that, you've got to remember, we got to get through the kryptonite zone. Here it is right here, 6,450. I mean, pop down, bounce through this again. Yeah, you know, you can expect it down, maybe a bounce up, and maybe another ladder bounce down. You know, the next really heavy support is right here. It's this blue line. You're looking at 62.55, where we have some substantial support, and 6,300. So this has just got to hold. It's got to hold. Otherwise, we are having a repeat of July 15 and 16. Now, I have told everybody, and what chart is that? Let's see here. This is the chart. Where's my notes at? You know, I've told everybody there's one of my charts around here somewhere that says I am going against the rest of the world because the rest of the world is in longs right now, and there's very little confidence in the Let's see, here we go. Let's see if this is my chart. No, it's not it. Somewhere I have a chart that says I'm in longs, I'm in shorts. All right, let's go down now. Let's kind of review our bubble charts. Now, listen. Hello, I was laughed at. I'm sure I was ridiculed for all the funny color, pastel colors on my bubble chart by a lot of people. And I know I was. Do I care about it? No. Do I wish I had more colors? Yes. Do I wish my charts didn't look like a boba tea? There was a giant meltdown at a boba tea factory, and the little jello bubbles crashed out on the floor everywhere. But yeah, the bubble charts are magic, man. Bubble charts are magic. I mean, these things are just unbelievable how accurate they have been. As we go through, and you know, I said danger. This is rolling over. Longs are to the sky. I'm betting against the longs. I think a long squeeze is possible here by those sneaky whales. And this is what I wrote on my chart. This is still what I feel could occur. I still feel that the longs are extremely high. So now the longs have come down a little bit simply because we've dipped. But I have a feeling if we did get a sudden drop, if we saw a little jolt, and it doesn't have to be a big drop, if we saw a jolt down to, you know, let's call it 6,400 right here, if we saw a jolt down to 6,400, I think we could see a lot of longs get blown out. We got to be really careful so that doesn't metastasize into a squeeze where we would have a liquidation of longs. So a fall to 6,200, you would see the longs quickly liquidated. If I was in a long and I was setting up my position, let me take a look here. Where'd my chart go? So if I was in a long here, a lot of these longs probably got in down here into the 5,800 range, and they're sitting in the 5,800 range to the, let's call it 58 to 6K. Anybody, you know, people could have got in here reasonably, maybe waited for confirmation, 6,200. So a lot of the longs are probably parked in this range. I know I jumped into some longs here and then jumped out of them. So I feel you would have got a good confirmation to get into a long at 6,200 here. If this did plummet and fall down, if this did fall down to 6,200 area, I think you would see a massive long squeeze. And that would be very detrimental to the price and to the stability of Bitcoin at that moment if we were to fall this far. So let's really keep an eye on that, okay? All right. Here we are. I had this. I'm going to rename this. It's going to be called my Spark Wedge. I had one of the members call me out on my Elliott skills. Now listen, guys. I am not an Elliott professional. I am clearly not. I did see this as an ABCDE wedge. Spark, I love you, buddy, but listen, I am not an Elliott professional. We're going to leave that up to the pros. You've got Swad, you've got Trade Devil, and those guys. But this is I see this pattern, and this is all I was looking at is this pattern. It did form, I think I called this up here, where I started to place this wedge, and it has played out. You can go back, you can look at my previous videos, and you should be able to see how I had this wedge placed right here. Okay, let's take a look at the wedge and where possible bottom for this wedge could be 64.75, and then I would be looking for a little bounce, and then a dump down, a further dump down. We've got to see, once again, getting below 64.50 is always a challenge. It is our kryptonite zone. It is traditionally my area of just massive support. All right. Let's look at the bubble chart. Let's take a look at our bubble chart historically. Okay, so once again, we are back down into we're right on back to the bounce zone. So I'm going to copy bubble, clone bubble. There we go. So we're back down into the bubble zone, right? Now, falling out of this brown zone creates more of a protracted fall. It's kind of like an arcing fall. When you do fall out of the brown bubble area, when you fall out of the pink bubble area, it's more of a dramatic fall. We are back on the blue bubble bounce area, but below this we got to be really careful falling below this. Falling into this area, you kind of got a void set up right here on the RSI. All right, and speaking of the RSI, let's take a peek at our daily RSI. It's always a very important indicator. See if we got it on this chart. It's on this one. I think it's on this one right here. Okay, there we go. All right, here's our RSI. Let's peek at our RSI right here. So the critical point we have for our RSI is 50. All right, so we're going to throw our line right there. Oh, damn close. Oh, it's already there. So let's take a look at our RSI. Here we are. Now, in the past two Julys, in 2016, 2017, this did break up here into this 55 range. It then bounced around and then dramatically took a nosedive out of it. So if I am in a trade here, which I'm in a short trade here, I would be looking to layer my shorts up into this 55 range, not relative to the price action, but relative to the RSI levels. So I wouldn't as much be looking at the price. What I'd be corresponding the price action with the RSI levels to look at layering my shorts as we moved up into this area, looking for another rollover from the historic. Now, once again, if you go back and let me show you. So in our private area, I'm going to give you guys a peek. Give you guys a peek real quick. So in our private trading room right here, I basically go through all of my thoughts and I kind of lay them out and I tell everybody exactly what I see and how I see it. And as I go through here and explain in detail everything, what I'm doing is I'm trying to help people realize the potential of where we're going, the possible direction of where we're going. I'm not trying to make dollar for dollar calls here. I'm not trying to do signals. What I'm trying to do is give you the best possible setup for your trades. And let me tell you, so my comparison to now and then is that in 2016, I felt the marketplace was still new and unadulterated. I feel we didn't have the amount of bots, we didn't have the amount of manipulation. I felt it was more pure trading. I felt there was a lot less alts, a lot less ICOs back in 2016. 2017, now you had the marketplace kind of started to expand. There was a lot more. There was belief. There was the coming out of the dark. It was like People were like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Look at all the money you can make. I bought $1,000 Bitcoin. It's worth $3,000 2 months later. This is amazing, right? I felt that 2017 had market confidence. It also had a direct correlation between the media and social media bringing Bitcoin out into the light. Now, here in 2018, I see weakness, right? And I see weakness based off one philosophy. And this philosophy is that no one wants to pay full retail for anything. No one, right? Who wants to pay full retail for a car? Nobody. How many of you have ever walked into a car dealership and said, hey, I want to buy this? Now, we're talking a substantially sized item here. Bitcoin is $6,000. It's not just a little thing. You're not going and buying a widget here. You're not going to go buy a fidget spinner for $6 and argue with the store clerk for a $6 fidget spinner. I'm talking you're going in to buy a car. If you're going in to buy a car, no one wants to pay full retail for a car. If you go buy even a used car, you're looking at that thing and you're negotiating, right? People do not want to pay full retail for anything. And yes, people have very, very short-term memories, and we know this historically. We experience this in my other businesses all the time, where people forget quickly. But here in crypto, we're talking not even a year ago, you could have bought a Bitcoin for $2,400, right? It's just not that good of a deal, right? Show me a deal, and I'll buy 10 of them. Here in America, we just had a big business that went out of business called Toys R Us, right? I got a 5-year-old daughter. She's going on 6. We go into Toys R Us the first day. They have this big giant sign up. It says 70% off. 70% off. We go in. We're in Toys R Us. We're shopping. I'm like, nothing was 70% off. It was a complete leader ad, right? Just to get people in the store. Nothing was 70% off. So we left, right? We left. Like 3 or 4 weeks later, it might have been 2 months later, we're like, oh, hey, we need to go get this. It was a little small toy, something special. So we went over to Toys R Us to get it. I walk in. I mean, the store looked like it is absolutely ransacked. Ransacked, right? The store just looks completely ransacked. And you start looking at the prices. Things were legitimately 50 to 70% off. I loaded up 2 shopping carts of stuff, right? I mean, I walked out and they said I was one of the small, they said people had ordered up 5 or 6 shopping carts full of stuff. Dude, when things are a deal, I will be in there with my shopping carts loading up BTC, right? But this is not a sale right here. People think that a sale is based on this valuation. This is incorrect. A sale is based off of this valuation. This is the misconception. Bitcoin is not worth $20,000 today, right? It's just not. It's not. People have this thing that people just think Bitcoin's worth 20K. It is not worth 20K today. Now, is it worth 5K? Is it worth 6K? Yeah. Is it worth 42 to 48K? Yeah. I see a lot more reasonable. I see a lot more people coming in and taking a peek at Bitcoin at 4,200, 4,800 and saying, yeah, well, wow, hey, we better get it before it jumps back up, right? That's reasonable. Do I see Bitcoin at $2,900, $3,000 as a deal? Hell yeah. Bitcoin at $3,000 is a hell of a deal. I myself would be loading up on it. I would have a good chunk of my portfolio that is sitting on the sidelines right now, and I have a really substantial portfolio of fiat that is just parked right now in Coinbase in US dollars. I'm parked in Tether right now in Binance, right? I want to see a real deal, and I still don't see this as a deal. When I see this as a deal is when we get back down to this area. Then I say it's a fire sale. People think this is a fire sale, and they're delusional. All right. So let's take some questions right now and see what everybody's got to say. And I think that was sorry if my rant ran on a little bit there. Just wanted to make sure everybody had a good idea of what I felt good market policies and practices and value engineering into the product would be for me. Where do I think the value, the bang for my buck would be buying Bitcoin? And that's where I really feel the bang for my buck. Buying and holding, that is. Trading and swing trading, the price is irrelevant to me. I am only looking for good setups to swing trade right now. Eventually, I will be looking to hold. Please, please, Bitcoin, make me a holder.